these were revolutionizing things from within. And I think many of you know the backlash after Vatican II. Vatican II was opened by an encyclical of the Vatican, but it was closed also by an encyclical of the Vatican when people got too threatened by what was called the foundationalist discussion. Vatican II opened what was called the foundationalist discussion, and that was this discussion of what are the foundations that all the world's spiritual traditions have in common. And that got scary. So what happened was, and just then I'll finish on this so don't go on too long, but what's interesting is that when that second encyclical came out, the theologians went along with it and they listened to orders and they bowed out. But the groups that did not bow out were the mystics and the liberation theologians, because they were the ones that were about what we're all experiencing together. And the other one, which was about liberation theologians, was service and caring, how we help those who are in need and who are the marginalized, which was the whole message of Jesus of Nazareth as well. So these things were huge. And the Roman Catholic Church at that time, that's when they had asked Matthew Fox to leave. That's when they'd asked Willigus Yeager to leave. People like Wayne Teasdale, Thomas Keating, they had superiors who protected them, but it depended on where you were. So it was a very volatile time. Last thing I'll say, we take for granted now this interrelationship of all the world's religions. We take it for granted because it's been around long enough that it's not new. But Diane and I and many others on this Zoom can remember when it was brand new. And when you ask people in a room how many people look to more than one tradition for your wisdom or your practices, not that many hands went up. Whereas today, probably virtually 80 to 90% of all the hands in the room would go up. So anyway, that's a lot, but it really celebrates, why we're here and why it's so important.
Yeah, thank you, Kurt. And I want to just underscore what you said about the focus in interspirituality on experience rather than abstract theological concepts, constructs. Many years ago, in one of the early editions of his book on the world religions, Houston Smith said that one of the problems with the approach of comparative religion is that it tends to quickly devolve into competitive religion. And so much of the early interfaith work, which really centered on theological arguments and differences, in many of those early interfaith gatherings, the thought of people of different traditions praying together was massively controversial and simply did not happen.
Yeah, and it's interesting that even the American Academy of Religion now is so well known for this. And Doug King, who's a long-term friend of ours, back before what you said was really understood. But what this was all about was the religious experience in the earlier times was about an identity fixation with a certain absolute worldview and the fears of rewards and punishments based on that.